welcome to the Backyard Professor videos. I recently had a very interesting, couple of weeks of conversations with some people on the internet on this idea of science versus God, so to speak. Science, the benefits, the blessings, the joys, the knowledge, the power of science due to its obvious successes, as opposed to religion, which gives us, what? Spiritual blessings. You know. The interesting fact of the matter is, we live here now in a material world, you know. This is the world of stuff. This is the reality that we find ourselves in, and some of us get to find ourselves here for over 100 years. Well, from a human standpoint, based on the way time works here in this part of the universe, that can be a long time, especially if you're crippled, or if you're in severe pain or hurting, or if you're blind or deaf, or you become blind or deaf, etc. What about the here and the now? What about this life? That's kind of what I want to talk to you about. I find it very interesting that on the internet, using their computers, a lot of people of faith, the people who really do have a full heart in it for religion, are the ones complaining the most against science. On the computer, interestingly enough. The only way their message is going to get out is through technology. And they say, I'm not understanding science because I keep pointing to technology, and the question is, what has science done for us? Am I the only one that sees the problem here? Science and technology go hand in hand, just as surely as faith and God go hand in hand. You can't separate science from technology. Why not? Because we have learned through scientific experiment and validation of our theories and hypotheses, we have learned what works and what doesn't. We have learned laws. We know how matter behaves because of gravity, the conservation of angular momentum, the conservation of momentum, the conservation of energy, the E equals mc squared, relativity, quantum physics, etc. Newtonian physics, force equals mass times acceleration, and so on and so forth. We've learned because of the mathematics how the laws work with air resistance or water resistance, etc. We have understood how to harness the power of electricity to put them in our little wires to give us the blessing of light bulbs, etc. Right? Well, the religious people always argue and they say, well, you know, we have atomic bombs and we have weapons that spread death and mayhem and all that, and so you can't possibly say science is a blessing. And they're saying this on a computer that they get on every day. They're saying this while they're driving to work, talking on their cell phones, enjoying their foods that they buy in the supermarkets, no less. They're enjoying the medicines that science brings out to alleviate vast amounts of unneeded and unnecessary suffering of millions of people. Well, religion claims that it has the gift of healing from God, right? Doesn't it? Then where is that gift? I mean, if you're going to claim to have the gift, of what point is it if it's not being utilized? Practically. Just, you know, here and now. This is where we live. This is when we live. The religion will say, and I'm lumping all of it together. That's true for the sake of illustration. I could separate it and pick specifically on Mormonism and just absolutely make all the Mormons mad at me, or say, oh, poor Kerry, he's lost his spirit and he's in apostasy. He's become an atheist. That's been their retort. because I'm asking some very tough questions now. I'm tired of taking it on faith. There's got to be something more. Science shows us that there is more. Science has been immunizing us from smallpox, measles, diphtheria, the whooping cough, the flu. It's been working on cures for cancer. Granted, it's a painful process and all, but science at least is helping us not live and suffer so long. We can have operations performed on our bodies. My wife had her gallbladder out earlier this year. Religion didn't heal her, though it attempted to. Science did, because of our knowledge of how we work. Science has introduced the incredible technology of the wheelchair. Because we understand now the laws of physics, we can produce wheelchairs to bless people's lives. They don't have to just lay all day long in a bed rotting. We now have electronic wheelchairs to where even if they're crippled with MS, there are people who can use those wheelchairs and they can get out in the world and get around and begin to try to function a little bit. Science is doing something. The evidence is, honest to goodness, overwhelming. Science works. And I'm getting kicked in the teeth for mentioning that. But the evidence is out there. See, this is the thing. We live in a world of physicality. I mean, you know, woohoo! You can throw up dirt because this stuff's physical. It's real. I can feel it. I can touch it. I can see it. You can see the effects of me throwing it up. And now that we know about the laws of gravity, it goes down. And because understanding these laws... Oh, crap, I'm getting dust all over my camera. Because of the laws of gravity, we've been able to get jet rockets, and now we have satellite technology orbiting our planet. And we can have Google Earth now. And, I mean, we can understand the patterns of Earth and seasons and how to prepare for tornadoes and damage warnings, danger warnings of floods, etc. No, we can't control them, but we can give people advanced notice, and it has prevented a lot of deaths and pain and suffering, even though there is pain and suffering because of the natural world we live in, of course. But religion makes the claim that it has the power. Even if it has the faith, the grain of a mustard seed, religion claims it can move mountains and rivers. You know, the ancient story in the book of Enoch in the LDS scriptures, where Enoch had his enemies and he was outnumbered 1,000 to 1. So he simply moved the mountain down on his enemies and changed the course of a river. Nice story. Faith promoting, you know, the power of God can be here on earth to be used to bless our lives. You notice he used it in war only. He didn't use it to bless the land or to change the fertility of the land, but he could have. Oh, why doesn't that power do that now? Africa is facing a famine right now to where 18 million men, women, and children are going to die of starvation. Why can't religion with its power of healing, I mean, they claim the power of God, the power that actually created the entire universe, so it obviously can manipulate matter, you know. Why can't they just go heal the land and move a few rivers so that the land can produce food so that 18 million people don't starve to death? They make the claim, but then they say, well, no, it's too sacred. It's not designed to show off to the world. Who cares about what the world thinks? What about blessing the innocent suffering? You know, it's not about trying to impress the world. It's about using that power to bless the world. Right? What good is the claim of having that power if it's never used? Do you know for every wheelchair person you see, that is a direct refutation against the power of healing or diseased people? You know, we hear thousands and possibly millions in the earth have this power, but every time it's going to be used and it doesn't work, they say, well, it's the victim's fault. They didn't have faith. You know, there's always an excuse. But science produces the results. People who lose their limbs in horrible accidents or in wars. What about our veterans who so lovingly sacrifice? And their sacrifice is enormous. It's far beyond what I can comprehend. I love our veterans. I appreciate their efforts to maintain our freedoms. But when they come home without a leg or without legs or blind or terribly burned or lost their hands or whatever, why doesn't religion simply restore their limbs for them as a thank you, as a blessing? Because they gave their all. Why doesn't religion turn around and use its gifts? Science does. Science has developed artificial limbs so that these people are not just simply laying on the couch, unable to live meaningful lives. The pain medicines that the veterans are given alleviate their suffering, and then they're given artificial limbs so that they can continue enjoying their lives. That's called evidence. That's called practical doing something, because we understand the laws of this material world. We can do something with that to bless people's lives. And science is doing that. All you have to do is get on the internet, folks. Get on the internet and Google artificial limbs and see the stories of the people's lives, how they're being blessed because of this. I guess I'm asking tough questions because I have attempted to live a life of faith my whole life. And it's fun. No, I can't possibly give up faith entirely. Yes, it's true. We all live by faith. That's true. But it's not the religious faith. It's a faith in life based on evidence and continual recurring understandings of how the laws work. It's based on confidence because we know what works and what doesn't. That's why we can go through our daily lives setting goals and achieving goals, because we know the situation. It's not faith in what's unseen and we don't know, but have faith in it anyway, even if there's evidence against something. That's not the kind of faith we live in. That's the religious faith. And it produces no evidence. Well, you have to wait until the next life, and then you'll receive 100-fold of the blessings. Why wait until the next life? We're taught God is an all-loving God. Now, you understand this, don't you? The theology is God really does love all of His children, and we are all of His children. Every human being out there is supposed to be. This is the theology, right? Well, don't you think He could show it a little better? Why all the needless suffering? The evidence is out there. If He did have the power, and theology teaches, yes, of course, you shouldn't question that. God has the power. Okay, we'll grant that. Just like the religions say, then why is He so reticent to use it to bless us? When Jesus was on the earth, He healed people. Oh, why don't His followers out there do the same thing? I mean, genuinely. Instead of letting so many millions of people needlessly and unnecessarily suffer horribly. This is the problem of evil. Now that I'm in my 50s, I'm looking back and I'm beginning to see that I've had so many assumptions on what I thought is true. And now that I'm exploring science a little more and I'm seeing the vast improvements of our knowledge of how things work, because we are interacting with the world, I see less and less evidence of faith actually working. Does faith produce the results that science does? And if so, what are they? Where are they? Spiritual blessings? What good does that do to the crippled blind guy that has to lay in bed his whole life? Did you know that because of the laser surgeries and laser technology, the technology, because we are studying the properties of light, photons, etc., and we have learned how to build machines that can manipulate the physics of the world, they can actually heal blindness now? We are developing technologies right now in little computers that we can actually implant in the brain to give electrical stimulus, and it is eliminating Alzheimer's disease, and it is improving people's lives. Were you aware of that? Look this stuff up on the internet. The medical world is phenomenally making huge advances to blessing people's lives, giving them more meaning here and now. This is where we live, folks. There's no way to get out of this, right? We're born here. This is it. So what is so horribly wicked or wrong with desiring to have the best possible life here that we can? Right? That's the value of science. That's the power of science. It gives us results. You hear that plane up in the air above me? It's way up there. That's pure technology and science. How has that blessed our lives? The ability to travel around the world in one day. The ability to get to where our loved ones are. The ability to bring supplies to people who are suffering. That's science. That's technology. To denigrate that, or to only emphasize the negative of science, is utterly myopic. It's completely short-sighted. The fact is, science works. All I can do is look at the evidence and see. Now, it does bring problems, of course. It's the idiots using science that are causing the problems. It can be used to bless our lives, sure, if we decide that's the value of it. Or it can be used to kill. But of course, we understand that. It's up to us to use it better. But we know we want to use it. Why? Because all the evidence shows us that it produces results. There's the blessings in life. It stops suffering, needless suffering, unnecessarily long, lifelong suffering. It does help cure diseases. It does help grow better food. We can improve the comforts of life. We can improve the meaning of life. We can enjoy the whole benefits of a life well lived because we are applying actual knowledge. Not just faith that someday it'll get better. Yeah, I have faith someday it'll get better. Yeah, I have faith. Science is doing it. Science is making it better. The birth rate has improved tremendously because of the science of medicine. Babies don't die nearly as often now thanks to our hospitals and technology. We do live longer, and that in turn presents its own set of problems. But who honestly wants to give all that up and go back to the medieval ages of dying by age 30 and living with toothaches? The science of dentistry. Who among us hasn't gone to a dentist or a doctor? See the point? When you break a leg in your femur, in your upper thigh, 200 years ago, good luck with that. But today, you really can be healed to where in just a few short months, you're back at it and walking and continuing enjoying your life, thanks to science. But do you see religion coming in and just simply healing them like Jesus did? No, you don't. Well, they lack faith in God. Why does God need faith? We're talking about an all-loving, almighty creator who could certainly bless this world better than it's been done. Through the millennia, The untold amounts of suffering for what? You see the problem? I'm not telling you anything new. I'm just bringing it out because it's come to my attention finally, now that I've got my head out of all that ancient stuff that I've been buried in for 20 years. It's been fun, it's interesting, it's enjoyable. But the scientific stuff today? Wow. It's far vaster and very much interesting, way more than I expected. I've been ignoring the good stuff, trying to keep the old stuff relevant. That's out of date. We're past the horse and buggy days. We're into a new millennium. And it's very exciting about the promises and the hopes and the technological advances and the successes that we're having to continue improving all of society. If we can just convince the damn politicians to quit being so freaking greedy and stupid, maybe the whole world can be better blessed. That's what I'm hoping. So thanks for watching my videos. And as usual, have a great and well-informed life, and I will see you in the next video.